welcome to the stage a great talent, Avery Thompson.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to tell you, I've been in Hollywood filming some movies with Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks. So I wasn't available to come these past 2 years, but now I'm here. I said, you know what, I need to be here, so. And so I just decided, you know, you all need me more than I need fame.
I actually went to a party New Year's Eve. He wasn't feeling well, but he still went to this party. And then the next day, he was like laid out right here on this couch, and he was like, I don't feel well, and he had a fever. And I took him to the doctor, and then he was diagnosed.
My name is Captain Jack Sparrow. I've come here to commandeer a ship so that I can retake my old ship, the Black Pearl, and retake my old crew that's on it. Now, you may think that I'm lying, but I would tell you the truth if, of course, I knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if I told it to you.
Like, I miss him making me laugh every day. Like, literally. He would just walk in and look at me, and I could laugh. Or we would do this little head tilt thing. We would look at each other and tilt our head and smile. And it was like our thing, you know, and we didn't say anything to each other, but it was like our little love thing. I love you too, without saying it.
He could do anything he put his mind to, almost like a cat that sees that ledge up there. I'm gonna jump from here, from there, I'm gonna bounce off there, hit that, and jump onto that ledge. And I'm gonna do it in one try. That was sort of Avery's look at life. He could see it, and if he thought he could do it, he would do it. Boom, I can do that.
Avery never had a problem being an individual, being him, being different, being himself.
We're just like best friends, and like I miss his sense of humor and how he could always just like make you smile. And like I just miss like him being here.
One of the most talented, fearless, incredible minds I've ever met.
He had really big dreams. He knew to look past high school. He knew that there was so much more out there, and he knew there was so much he could do. And he didn't limit himself at all, and I just loved hearing about all his plans.
So then by the time it was 8 years later, he always needed a new camera. And the one I had was broken, like the knob, the record button was broken. You had to hold it the whole time rather than just press it. And I said, Avery, you can play with that one because I'm getting a new one. And he's like, oh great. And next thing I know, we looked at what he made and we're like, how did you make that? Like he did a spoof of Jaws. But it was all in sequence, there was no editing. He couldn't, you know, it was a broken camera. And we didn't understand how he could do that. Other people saw that and they were like, you have to get him a Mac computer. You have to get a Mac because the iMovie would be perfect for him. So we went directly and got him an iMac in I believe it was third grade, beginning of third grade. And that was the beginning. That was the real beginning of him his talent just started to explode in front of us.
Of course, he started with Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam, but then he would do the music. He would sing the music in between. Actually, that was more impressive than it was funny, but it was one of the first things I noticed at 18 months that he could do that. But he would also sing the orchestra parts perfectly in pitch. So I noticed that he had a really good ear for musical pitch, which is different from just memorizing monologues or dialogues, you know. But he could do that as well.
He was doing voice impressions, and then all of a sudden he was like, I can do a singing impression, right? So he was he impersonated Sting. He loved Sting. So he was doing Message in a Bottle and, you know, all those different songs by Sting.
One night in the middle of the night, like I get a phone call from him, and like, at first I was a little worried, you know, it's like 2 in the morning, and he calls me and he's imitating like some Asian like teacher or something. I had no idea what he was saying, and I'm like, hello, like, are you okay? I'm freaking out, and he's just on the on the other end joking around. I'm like, it's 2 in the morning, like, what are you doing up?
He called me, he was Johnny Depp one day. He called me another time, and he was the actor from Breaking Bad, and he refused to break character.
So he was doing impressions of them in the beginning, and then he realized, wait a minute, if I can sing just like Drake, and I can sing just like Sting, and I can sing just like, you know, several of these other artists, let me start singing on my own. And that's how all that started. He just started making his own beats. He describes himself as a beat producer, impressionist, you know, filmmaker. It was such a long list. And then we realized how great he was at it. We're like, wow.
Every now and then I would catch him just sitting there like looking, and he would cock his head to the right like that all the time. And I said to his mother, I said, "Is something wrong with Avery?" You know, when he's like doing that, and we couldn't like figure out what it was. I later realized as he got older that he was observing people. He was studying them. He was studying you so that he could go and you know, be you. And he used to, you know, imitate us all the time too. He used to do impressions of us, you know, family members. So that's what so I kind of noticed really early on that he had an unbelievable and extraordinary attention span for a little boy.
He'd always show me all the music that he'd be working on, and once we even did a music video. It's the Love My Apple Pie one. It's the parody to one of those Eminem songs, and every time we would go to Six Flags, which would be around like every year we'd go, we used to rap the verses to those songs as we would go up the roller coaster on El Toro, and then when we were going down, we'd try to keep going, but we couldn't.
He had so many interests. He decided to teach himself to type. They were taking a little typing class. 2 weeks later, he said, "Dad, I'm gonna teach myself to type." 2 weeks later, he was typing 170 words a minute. I said, "Yeah, but can you do it with no mistakes?" He said, "Dad, I did it in a test." I said, "Really? No mistakes? Pretty good." So then he taught himself conversational German at like 14. So he's in the mall, and he starts having conversations with these German people that he runs into for like 5 minutes in German.
He had called me one day and asked me to, you know, come over, maybe we could play basketball, play a little video games. And he asked me if we wanted to go to the park at South Orange. So we went, and the whole day we were playing, you know, grinding, playing game after game after game. And finally, it had been the time that we were gonna leave, and he was like, you know, let me give it one more shot. And he went up and he did it. And after a whole day of work, you know, he still had the energy and the motivation to dunk.
He wanted to play soccer for the Roosevelt team, and he said, "Vic, you gotta help me," because you know I played soccer. So he goes, "I'm gonna try to be a goalie. I'm gonna beat Josh Feinblatt." So I would kick balls at him, and he would try to get them, and he would just smack them with his hand. Like, I know he wasn't doing it technically properly or anything, but he just smacked the ball and he would say, "Get out of my kitchen."
One of the definitions of a gifted child is one who can just teach themselves a craft without being taught by someone else. They will literally get all the resources they need on their own and start to manifest.
The Renaissance child, the multiple talents over various areas, genres, and disciplines. He could do that just seemingly easily.
And I would often sit back and wonder how he was doing it, and it was quite miraculous. And even though, you know, I had him for those 17 years, it was like the most incredible blessing as a parent of a gifted child in that way.
I remember we were sitting in Miss Kim's class, and he had this paper cut on his finger, and he always had a Band-Aid on it. And Miss Kim even made a comment. She goes, "Do you still have that paper cut? You should go to the doctor. You know, you should get some antibiotics." And so like he went to the hospital, and that was around the same time he told everyone he was gonna audition for America's Got Talent. So like he was absent from school for like a few days in a row, and then all the kids in school were saying, "Oh yeah, he's at his audition," but like I knew he wasn't at his audition. He told me he was at the hospital, he told me what was going on, and everyone was so excited, but it's not my place to say, look, he's not okay.
He was still doing okay. September, October school, like he looked normal, but he was just a little tired. And I thought, oh, he's just having trouble adjusting to high school because it's a lot to transition. And then that was also when he went to try out for America's Got Talent.
Welcome back to America's Got Talent, the New York auditions. We got the Empire State of Mind, baby.
There were 5 producers when you go into the room to audition, and he just started, and you know, he made up funny stuff to them like on the spot, you know, and they were hysterically laughing. And I remember I was in the room with him because he was a minor, because the parent has to go in with you, and it was a wonderful moment.
Then he called me on the phone that night where he was diagnosed, and I don't know, it was like someone saying they had the flu. Like, you don't think anything of it until it's over.
Yeah, he had T-cell ALL, which is acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and the T-cell type is a little more difficult to cure than the B-cell type, because the T-cells are your fighter cells, and so when they are affected, you know, it's much more difficult to fight the disease. Your B, you know what I mean? If you have B-cell, then you have your T-cells at least to help fight. And supposedly they said that there was like an 85% cure rate for this, but he fell immediately into like the 10% zone because he had an aggressive form of it, and it didn't respond to the typical protocol of the chemotherapy for his type of cancer.
When I heard he first had cancer, my reaction was sad, but not in a tragic way. I just thought he would beat it. And even when he left school, I was still texting and talking with him. He had my phone number, and even over summer break, I was in Florida. I remember talking to him about some things he was going through, but he was confident he was going to beat it, and I knew him, and I knew how strong he was. I really thought he was going to beat it.
He described it as, he said, that the chemotherapy treatments are barbaric. That was the actual word he used. And he said, Mom, 50 years from now, they're going to laugh at this like they look at medicine from the medieval days. And I was like, you know what, you're right. They will hopefully look back on this and think of it as, it is barbaric, because it's toxic. Chemotherapy is toxic. It's killing the healthy cells and the cancer cells.
I didn't really know what to say. Like, I was sad, I remember, and I didn't like know how to act or like what to do or say. I just remember being like, what? Since when is this happening to us? Like, you hear about people having cancer, but you never think it could like affect you directly. But it was, and I was like, what? And I was just in 5th grade, and yeah, it was pretty hard to hear about.
So he was at the hospital a lot, especially in the first 6 months. He had a reaction to one of the chemos that was really a bad reaction. He got pancreatitis and was in the ICU for like 10 days and lost 40 pounds. And that was like in the 2nd or 3rd month he had it. And so the first 6 months he was in the hospital, like most of the 6 months almost. And then he became cancer-free finally. Then they wanted him right away before he could relapse, you know, to give him this transplant. And they did that, and then he was in the hospital with that for straight 30 days. You know, that was like complete isolation, and he was almost losing his mind, you know, which is, nor anyone would lose their mind, because you couldn't even have visitors without people coming in with a mask and, you know, clothing, covers, and I would sleep there most of the time with him, one of my husband or I, or a family member, around the clock. So I almost felt like I was living on 68th Street and 1st Avenue and Upper East Side, where Sloan Kettering is.
When some of the other treatments weren't working, they did a trial at NIH, where I am. So they came and spent a few weeks down there, and I got to, you know, be with him, you know, pretty much every day. And that treatment wasn't doing too well either, so he was sick a lot. But he would call up and say, I want to come over, and you know, so he came over and we would hang out, but it was hard. It was hard for everybody.
I think his greatest accomplishment was staying positive in such a dark place for him, you know, because even in the situation that he was in, he always seemed to be motivated, and he always seemed to always seemed to be able to do something better.
He had the latest iMac laptop there, and he would do his music. He would make beats, he was singing, he was rapping. He wrote this incredible song about his situation called Through the Flow, where he impersonates Jay-Z and himself talking about his situation. It was incredible. And I mean, he performed that and wrote, and he would never write anything down. Everything was freestyle with Avery too. That was another sign of his genius, because who can do that? One of the biggest tragedies would be if Avery were to become too ill to actually do a show. I mean, that's one of the biggest, he has to be able to display his talents. He's never been able to display his talents, really. You know, I mean, he was on America's Got Talent, the talent show at school, whatever, but never to the level like he could do. And we're like, let's try it. And we didn't even know if he'd be well enough to do it, because this was July and the show was September. We're like, oh, what if he's not well enough? There's so many variables. So many stars had to align to pull that off. People have no idea. People just went to the show and thought, oh, look at this show. You know what I mean? This is great. But it was a miraculous endeavor.
This next act is going to be pretty crazy. It's a song I made called The Reunion, in which I impersonate various rappers and such. So it's pretty self-explanatory, and check it out. Yo, A.T. J-Hofer. What up, yo? Notorious B.I.G.
What up, A.T.? So good, baby.
Yo, hey, I'm about to go first, alright? Yeah, you good? Alright, here we go. Boy, I'm number one. This is the fact of it. That means I make you number two, like a laxative.
And then I got all the musicians together. My friend Alex Foster plays on Saturday Night Live for 24 years now. He came and played alto sax. We got Joe, my friend.
When he was sick and, you know, things were, you know, he needed a lift, I called a friend of mine out in Los Angeles who used to work with Jamie on In Living Color. And he said he was still in contact with him. And I said it would really be great if, you know, you could get him to call my nephew, you know, because he's, you know, he's fighting. He's fighting this cancer with everything he's got. And I think it would really like just spark his, you know, spark his everything, because he just needed that lift. And it took a little while. I had to call them a couple of times and remind them to do it. And this one time I called and I had a real sense of urgency about it, because I had sort of given him a little nudge that somebody important was going to call him, and because, you know, kids don't answer their phones. So I said, Avery, I have somebody really special who's going to call you, so you have to answer your phone. So he kept calling me, asking me, you know, like, who is it? And are they going to call? And when are they going to call? And it was that time that he called me, and it was it was just the end of Memorial Weekend. And I was headed to the airport, and he had called me a few days before and said, are they going to call me? And I said, just be patient. I'm sure it's going to happen soon. And I was walking through the airport, and he called and he said, guess who just called me? I said, I know who just called you, Jamie Foxx. And he went on to tell me, I thought it would just be a phone call. It's all I, you know, ever asked for. But it turned into this, you know, sort of, Jamie was so impressed with him, he had him like perform on the phone and called all these people on the set into the room while he was there.
Jamie played a trick on Avery. In the last couple of weeks, he didn't contact him, so Avery wasn't sure he was really going to show. I knew that as an adult, he wouldn't promise a kid with cancer that he wasn't going to not show up. But Avery really thought he wasn't, because he wouldn't call him for less. So last second, Jamie, you know, comes out on stage, and Avery didn't even see him come out. So Avery turns around, and if you look in the DVD, you'll see Avery's face like, and there's Jamie Foxx. So it was amazing how he did it.
Rolling, rolling, rolling. Everybody now. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Let me hear you say, hola, hola, eh. Hola, hola. Let's go. You got throw them hands up. Where we go? I told you I was gonna be a little bit. I told you I was gonna come here and surprise you. Let me tell you about this young man. This young man reached out to me. He told me his situation. I'm a huge fan of comedy. This man did every voice in the book, just blew my mind. He ended up coming to the set of Spider-Man, and he blew everybody on Spider-Man set on purpose. I have not texted this dude back for weeks. He hit me, he said, well, I guess you ain't coming. I haven't heard from him in weeks, but buddy, you know I'm gonna eat it, man. You know I'm gonna
Everybody, listen up. President Obama's back up in here. Listen up. This is my good friend Jamie Foxx. He does a lot of impersonations, including Bill Cosby, another one of my good friends.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to come to the stage, Avery. I have a game that y'all gonna put me in the car. We're gonna flip out.
You'll see it first here at the SoPac Dream Big concert. Obama, Bill Cosby, we got it all.
Thank you guys, man. Thank you. I told y'all to get you. Give it up one more time, Jamie Foxx.
He said this was the greatest day of my life, and we all felt it too as audience members and as his mom, because he did so well. I mean, and it felt like a feeling of euphoria. It felt like, you know, they call like an after show buzz when you do really well. But everyone in the audience felt the after show buzz.
I guess his greatest accomplishment would just be like being alive for 17 years and impacting all the people that he did impact, and like just being in their everyday life.
There's a deep vacancy for Avery. I used to, you know, he was my tech expert. He was my, you know, when I needed a lift, I mean, I could call him and, you know, he would say something funny or do something funny. I always look forward to seeing him and, you know, spending time with him. And I miss his skits and just, you know, the way he would, the way he brought us all together in a really humorous way.
I think the sad thing is he won't see his greatest accomplishment, which is inspiring this school, the kids and the staff after he's been gone. I think just his remaining spirit was the greatest accomplishment, which, you know, we all knew he had, but I think we all really got to meet it after he was gone.
I think right now he would be doing amazing things. You know, things that a normal person wouldn't be able to do. You know, he would be on America's Got Talent. He'd be singing and performing in front of thousands, millions of people, and he'd just be doing great things with his life.
Avery definitely would have been like a superstar, no doubt. I mean, he still is in my eyes, but I think he would have been famous, no doubt. Probably writing a ton of movies and his own music.
I think that he was able to change people, either consciously or unconsciously, to be more than they were. You know what I mean? And I think that's a great thing, because I think it evolves around the world. If you change one person, you just didn't change one person. You changed the people around that person, because that person's going to change those people. So I think Avery started something that may build. And we need, if anything, we need more good vibes and good humanity in the world today. And I think that's what this kid represented in his soul and his spirit.
One of his last wishes, he was like, I want you to play my music, my film, my videos, my comedy, my impressions for everyone. I want everybody to know who I am.
You're a good girl, you know. You act so different around me.